be 603 6.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm feeling that, everybody's saying it's 666, but in the end, when everybody's going to be forced to accept it, I feel like that it's going to be 636, and these people are going to say, wow, at least it ain't 666, so we can go ahead and take that number.
Well, you know what the thing is 666 according to whose number system?
Yeah, because everybody I talk to, you're blessed if you live 77 years, and you ask everybody, 7 score, well, that's 70.
Because there's so many different things that can equal 666 depending on whose numerology system you're following. Because there's several.
But of course, the way I feel, if anybody takes any kind of mark,
I don't get hung up on the number as much as I just do the whole forehead and right hand thing.
Yeah, I just believe it's going to be a big deception from what I'm feeling.
Yeah, well, I've heard from talking to Bill Deagle that these national ID cards have 666 on them.
I just think, if it was a card or something that had 636, they'd be able to fool a whole lot more people.
Yeah, or even in combinations of 666, how they hide things. And they've been hiding that number in barcodes for years, and people hadn't seen it. So is it literally going to be something that's obvious, a big 666, or something in the background that means the same thing, but not as obvious to people who don't know what to look for? Yeah. So that's why I concentrate on the whole on the right hand or forehead, and people say that's symbolic. That forehead meaning what's in your mind or whatever, and I don't think this is part of a scripture that you can't take literal. I mean, the whole rule of prophecy has always been, if it can stand on its own, then it's literal. If it's something that can't, then it's symbolic. And I mean, when you're describing something with 4 B sounds, then obviously it's symbolic. But the fact that they just mentioned the right hand and the forehead, I think it's literal.
And one of your callers mentioned earlier about on the Pope's chair, upside down cross on it. My daughter was watching news the other night and picked it up. Dad, look at that. And she caught that real quick, like. Yeah.
And I have pictures of the Pope and his sitting on his throne with an upside down cross behind it at lastdaysprophecies.com. I even put them on the SherryTalkRadio site. Not all of them, but some of them.
And I saw that TM on the casket the other day, and it just slapped me as something. That's got to be something bad.
Yeah, and then one guy said the M was for Mary.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Why would you put your mother's initial on your coffin? I mean, Oh, not that it was his mother, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, why would they put Mary's? They elevate her to the form of worship is what it is. And when you try to tell them they're in idolatry, they just fight you tooth and nail.
Yeah, I just can't understand them, but...
I just thought the whole thing was amusing because I'm not an adept in the occultic symbology. And so you're looking at Santa Claus with the elf hat on, with the elf shoes, and the whole thing was just red. Everybody was wearing this red and white. Of course, that whole thing symbolizing the New World Order and Zoroastrianism, whatever it is, that one part of it, aspect of it, the white being that, and the red being the Illuminati's color, and so, yeah, the whole thing was occultic. I'm sure more is going to come out,
I didn't pick up on the elf shoes till you just mentioned them, but they did have them, didn't they? They look kind of like elf-looking shoes, what we've seen in movies and all that.
Well, there was. He had his elf shoes on and his hat. It was an elf hat. It makes you think twice about this whole thing of Christmas with Santa and his helpers. Santa and the elves, why they instituted that whole pagan holiday.
Yeah, I've always known it's all bad, but...
Yeah,
tell other people that, and they think they're Satan in the flesh, so...
I said in my blogger, if he returned as Christ, children everywhere would be confused. He'd be coming in his Santa Claus outfit. And I think they do think they thought that he would arise from the dead, and I think the Antichrist, who we don't know. I don't know if it's literal that the Antichrist will be a human that dies and comes back, or if Lucy will just come back as God himself and use his angelic form. Go back into his original Lucifer form before he was judged and cast out of heaven, shapeshift into that, and come to Earth deceiving everybody as God, or if it will be a human that dies and comes back. That's what the church teaches. The church teaches that it'll be a human that dies and comes back. And so I'm looking at either one. And if it was, I mean, I saw his whole thing in the Bible code where he would die in April, and then one September was there as well. And I really believe that the Antichrist will return in September and not any time before that.
Yeah, we'll see it soon enough. So.
Yeah, I don't know what that background noise is. You hear that?
Yeah, I heard it too. But anyway, I'm going to let you go, so hopefully you can have time for another caller, and I'll talk to you later, Sherry.
All right, well, you have a good night.
You too, Sherry. We'll see you.
Hey, God bless. And let's see, another thing, folks. Get back to this. I don't know if I really have enough time for a caller unless you've got a 30-second question. But just get into Revelation 13 and study the last half of that, because it would detail and tell you the role of the false prophet, as opposed to, it's pretty much the same thing the churches teach today. But what they try to do is get you to believe that the Antichrist will come first, and that the false prophet is the pawn of his. And what I've been feeling is that the false prophet comes first because he paves the way for the Antichrist. He paves the way for his father to come, which is God. And so I've always believed the false prophet will come first. And interesting enough, that's the same thing the Illuminati in their own writings, with their own belief, and that the Pope would die and come back as a false prophet, are saying the same things. And so we need to be looking for the coming of the false prophet first before the Antichrist comes. And just a heads up on that. Next week will be listener call-in. I don't have a planned scheduled guest. I don't have a planned anything for next week. I just go as the Lord leads me to go. And so that's what I'll be doing. You can go to VaticanAssassins.org. You might have some information on the passing of the Pope. Would caution you, though, into going to the more detailed stuff on that website, the Jesuits' Oath. Kind of stay away from that one, because as you're reading that thing, you could find yourself reciting it. So as you're reading it, you're reciting that oath, and so stay away from that part. Got an experience with that the other day, and so just stay away from that page. You don't want to be reading anybody's oaths that they take for these secret societies, because you don't want to find yourself repeating them and saying them yourself. And so just a heads up on that. I'll have some more information on my sites this week, and hopefully I'll get the one site on I've been working on, backtoyahweh.com. Hopefully I'll get that finished this week. I've just thrown some links on there already for people that are already going there, and I'm not done with it, and I haven't announced it. But the site's getting traffic already, people visiting it, and so there's stuff there for you to browse through and read. It's got a new forum. Visit beastprophets.com, chat forum online. You can chat with other believers there about different various issues. And so that's what's up for this week, folks. This week I'm going to be busy. I'll get that site, trying to get it done, trying to get my second book submitted to the publishers this week. And next week will just be listener call-in, and we'll pick up where we left off tonight. Just listener call-in, what's going on for the day. So until then, God bless, have a blessed week, and we'll see you next week. Good night, folks.